When I first married Daniel, I believed I had struck gold. He was gentle, hard-working, and fiercely loyal. But what I didn't realize was that behind his calm demeanor stood a pair of venomous shadows, his parents. At our wedding, his mother handed me a box with a smirk. Inside was a family heirloom necklace. Gorgeous, yes, but her words echoed sharper than any blade. Wear it well. It might be the only thing of value you ever bring to this family. I forced a smile, try and chalk it up to nerves or perhaps a generational difference. I wanted to believe the best. I needed to believe it, for Daniel's sake. But that was only the beginning. Phase 1, the mass cracks. After we married, Daniel and I moved into a house just outside the city, a gift from my late grandmother, who had left me everything. My in-laws moved in temporarily, claiming their own house was undergoing repairs. I agreed, hoping a few months of shared space would mend the cool distance between us. Instead, it became my personal purgatory. They criticized my cooking, my job, the way I decorated, my face. His mother took to whispering jabs loud enough for me to hear. "She's only after your money, Daniel. Too bad she doesn't know it's ours." Daniel, to his credit, tried to defend me, but he was walking a tightrope between two worlds, one where love reigned and one where blood ruled. Then I discovered the truth. One night, I was looking for a misplaced receipt in the study drawer when I came across a folder labeled Plan B. Curiosity piqued, I opened it, and my stomach dropped. It was filled with legal documents, drafted with a lawyer's help. Property transfers, account changes, and forged letters. The kicker? My in-laws were planning to have Daniel convince me to sign over my house to them. They believed since it was gained through marriage, it rightfully belonged to their son. Never mind that it was legally mine long before he even proposed. Worse still, they had been recording me, cutting my words out of context to make me look abusive, cold, and manipulative. My heart shattered, but then slowly it hardened. They thought I was soft, but they'd just woken a storm. I didn't confront them immediately. No, I smiled, cooked their favorite meals, and played the perfect daughter-in-law while I quietly collected evidence. I installed my own cameras. I copied files from their laptop. I recorded their conversations, like the one where his father sneered, "She's not family, she's a temporary investment." I showed Daniel everything. At first, he was speechless. Then he cried. Then, like me, he burned with quiet fury. Together, we formed a plan. The morning of the confrontation was peaceful, eerily so. I made them breakfast, eggs, toast, orange juice. I smiled. They didn't even notice the luggage by the front door until they were halfway through their meal. "What's that?" his mother snapped. Daniel stepped forward, calm but firm. "You're leaving today." She laughed. "Excuse me." "You heard me," I said, setting the deed on the table, circled in red. "You tried to steal my house, lie about me, destroy my marriage. Now you're out." "You can't do this," his father began, standing. "I can, and I did. The locks have been changed. Your things are packed, and the police have been informed that you are trespassers if you return." His mother's face turned a shade of red I didn't know existed. "You ungrateful little." "Careful," I said, holding up a small voice recorder. "This is still recording, like all the others." They stormed out, hurling curses and threats, but they never came back. The locks clicked shut behind them, echoing through the house like a final gavel strike. It's been 6 months. Daniel and I went to therapy and began rebuilding, not just our relationship, but ourselves. The silence in the house is no longer suffocating. It's peaceful. It's ours. And sometimes when I hear the wind rattle the window panes, I smile, remembering the storm I weathered, the storm I became, because revenge wasn't loud. It was calm, it was legal, and it was locked in with a key they'd never hold again. Of course, it didn't end there. 2 weeks after locking them out, we received a letter. No return address, just our names written in jagged cursive. Inside was a single photograph. Daniel at 5 years old, smiling with his parents on a summer day. On the back, scrawled in ink, were the words, "Blood doesn't forget." Daniel stared at the message, expression unreadable. I felt the cold brush of fear, but it didn't last long. We had already contacted a lawyer, and I handed the letter over to her that same afternoon. "They're trying to provoke you," she said calmly. "Don't take the bait." But provocation wasn't their only strategy. The next week, Daniel's workplace received an anonymous tip accusing him of financial misconduct. A full audit was launched. HR called him in for multiple meetings. Every move he made was watched under a microscope. He was eventually cleared. Completely innocent, of course, but the damage was done. Whispers followed him through the office. Promotion opportunities vanished. That's when we went on offense. Remember all those recordings? The manipulated documents? The letters? The threats? We handed it all over to a lawyer who specialized in familial financial abuse. With her help, we built a solid case and filed for a restraining order against his parents. They scoffed, of course, called us liars and manipulators, but the judge didn't buy their act. Not when we showed the footage of them laughing about how easily they could crack Daniel if they played the victim hard enough. The restraining order was granted. Then we filed a civil suit for attempted fraud and emotional distress. It was expensive, exhausting, and brutal. But watching them squirm under oath, watching them forced to admit that, yes, they had tried to manipulate Daniel out of his wife's inheritance, was worth every cent. When the court awarded us damages, it wasn't much compared to what they tried to steal, but it was enough to make a statement. You don't get to destroy people and walk away untouched. With the legal battles behind us, Daniel finally decided to cut all ties. No calls, no birthdays, no explanations. "They're not family," he told me one evening, sitting under the warm glow of our porch light. "They're just people who taught me what love isn't." It took a long time for him to heal. Some wounds ran deeper than mine. After all, he didn't just lose his parents. He lost the illusion of them. But day by day, he found freedom in that loss. So did I. We remodeled the house, painted the guest room a new color, warm sage instead of dull beige. It used to be his parents' room. Now it's a library with shelves that stretch from floor to ceiling. My own little sanctuary of peace, built where their poison used to seep in. We even got a dog, Rocco, a rescue, loyal, gentle, and fiercely protective. Fitting. Sometimes people ask if we'd ever forgive them, if we'd ever open that door again. But some doors aren't meant to open. Some are meant to stay locked, to remind us of what we survived, and the strength it took to choose ourselves over the illusion of family. Forgiveness may come one day, in silence, in thought, but the locks stay on. The code has changed. The past is out, and we are finally in, secure, free, whole. And for the first time in years, the only sound I hear when I close my eyes is peace. Life had finally quieted. Too quiet, some might say. Daniel and I had rebuilt everything. Our trust, our home, our future. The house no longer creaked with bitterness. The air didn't feel heavy. Even the photos on the walls looked brighter, somehow, like the memories inside them had exhaled too. But peace, I learned, has a sound. It's the low hum of the heater on a winter night. The rustle of a dog's tail hitting the floor. The sound of silence you trust. And the sound of peace is not a knock at the door. Especially not at midnight. It was soft, almost polite. Just 3 taps. I froze. Rocco, our dog, growled deep in his throat and pressed his body to mine. Daniel came down the stairs quietly, barefoot, tense. I nodded at him as he checked the security monitor on his phone. Then he turned to me, face pale. "There's no one there," he whispered. But I heard it again. Knock, knock, knock. Daniel opened the front door. Nothing. No wind. No car. No footprints in the fresh snow. Just a single envelope on the doormat. No stamp. No address. Inside, one torn photograph. It was our wedding picture, ripped clean down the middle. My side missing. And scrawled in black ink. "You locked us out. But walls rot, doors crack, and blood remembers." We stared at it in silence for a long time. Then Daniel burned it in the fireplace. We didn't report it. There was nothing to report, really. But We did one thing the next morning. We tore down the front door and replaced it with reinforced steel. Bulletproof, keyless, and on the inside, right above the handle, we engraved 3 words, just for us. They stay out. And after that, the house was silent once more. Weeks passed. The snow melted. The whisper of spring returned. And for a time, so did the illusion of normalcy. Daniel smiled more. I wrote again. The garden bloomed where anger once festered. Rocco chased butterflies like they were dreams he could finally catch. Life wasn't just good, it was earned. But peace, I've learned, isn't permanent. It's borrowed. And sometimes the past doesn't knock. Sometimes it seeps into the places you forgot to seal. It started small. An envelope, no return address. Inside was a single house key, one of the old ones, from before we changed the locks, wrapped in a note that simply said, "Did you think metal could keep us out?" Daniel got a call while I was out shopping. No ID, just static. Then his mother's voice, whispering something in a language he hadn't heard since childhood. A prayer, or maybe a curse. He didn't tell me at first. I could see it in his eyes, though, that look he used to have before he'd speak to them, like a boy about to face a storm. That's when we found the dead bird. It was at the base of the basement stairs. Perfectly intact. No blood, just placed there. Its glassy eyes staring at nothing, wings folded neatly, like it had been arranged. Daniel didn't speak. He just got a shovel and buried it behind the shed. Quiet, controlled. But I heard him whisper before he went back inside. How did they get in? Day 7, the cracking point. We installed cameras again. Extra lights. Motion detectors. A private security company on speed dial. Still, nothing showed up on the footage. No trespassers. No vehicles. Nothing. Only us. Only the sounds. Scratching at the walls at night. Faint whispers in the hallways. A slow tap, tap, tap against the bedroom window on the 2nd floor. That morning, I found a message. It had been written on the mirror in our bathroom. I was brushing my teeth when the steam from the shower fogged the glass, revealing the words written in a greasy, almost oily smear. You locked us out, but we were always inside. I dropped the toothbrush. My scream brought Daniel running. We tore the mirror off the wall. Behind it, just wood and wires. No crawl space. No message. Nothing. But I saw it. I know I did. We're staying in a hotel now. Somewhere far. Somewhere safe, or so we hope. We left the house with everything we could carry. Daniel said we should sell it, burn it, forget it. But I can't, because last night, as we sat in the hotel bed in silence, I heard it again from the other side of the wall. Just 3 unmistakable knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Farther this time. A nameless rental in a different state. Under aliases. No forwarding address. No contact with old friends. We scrubbed ourselves from the digital world as much as possible. Started over again. Daniel doesn't smile as much now. He keeps a flashlight and a hammer by his side of the bed. Rocco rarely leaves my side, his eyes always watching corners of the room. And me? I've started dreaming in whispers. Whispers that sound like her. 2 months later, the package. We received no mail for weeks. Until one morning, the hotel concierge handed us a box. No return address, just our new names handwritten in shaky pen. Daniel didn't want to open it. I did. Inside was a single item, a brick from our house. I recognized it. My grandmother had painted symbols beneath the old porch when I was a child. Strange markings I thought were just her eccentricities. On the brick, scratched in what looked like dried rust or blood, were the same 3 words. It's not over. Underneath the brick was a photograph. The house. Our house. Except the front door was open, just wide enough for a shadow to slip through. 3 days later, the forgotten room. That night, I remembered something I had buried deep. When I was little, my grandmother warned me never to open a trapdoor in the cellar. That room doesn't belong to us, she used to say. It's a door pretending to be a floor. And every family has something beneath. I thought it was metaphor, some old woman's parable. But what if we didn't lock them out? What if we woke something up? What if the revenge, the insults, the greed weren't the cause, but the trigger? Daniel is gone. We were in the middle of breakfast. He went to grab his phone from the bedroom, and he never came back. No signs of struggle. No open windows. No sound. Just gone. But there was something new on the table in front of me. His phone. It had one photo on the screen, taken seconds before it was left there. A live photo. I pressed play. Daniel stood in the hallway. Behind him, a figure, tall, feminine, familiar, stepped out from the shadows. It was his mother, but her eyes, they weren't eyes anymore. They were holes, and her mouth opened impossibly wide as she whispered directly into the camera. "We told you we were always inside. I don't know how much longer I have. The walls here hum at night. Sometimes the ceiling drips, not water, but voices. I write this now so someone will remember, so someone will believe. It was never about the house. It was about the door beneath the house. The one I should have never opened, the one I never locked.